So, super excited for this conversation, this edition of A Little Perspective. I'm talking with Lauren Bryant today, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the challenges that she has faced and the many, many things that she has accomplished so far. So, thank you for joining us, Lauren. I'm so glad to have you, and
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
thank you for your patience. I know it's been I had to change a couple things, and now I can't find my damn computer cord, but it goes on. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Lauren, obviously. I'm 25. I am a first year graduate student. I am studying education policy, organization, and leadership with a specialization in diversity and equity in education. And it's a really long game. Like, it's not necessary to be that long. It takes forever to actually explain it to anybody. And I'm hoping to work for a college or university as kind of an accommodation specialist. So helping students figure out the accommodations that they need, helping them advocate with their professors and other faculty to make sure that they're continuing to get those accommodations. And I'm super excited. I love my program so far. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Wow, that's that's a small field, I assume.
I mean, the education grad program is pretty large, but I don't think that my program is super gigantic or anything.
That's really neat. So, what made you choose that way?
So it was actually suggested to me. One of my stepmom's friends is um the head of the special ed department at the College of Education here. And she actually suggested that I apply, and I did, and I actually got in, which is still wild to me.
Yeah, unexpected?
I guess so, which is weird because it's not that I know I'm not smart, because I am. But it was still kind of like, oh my God, I'm actually smart enough to get into grad school? What the heck?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure there was no doubt from others, though. That's funny. So, how much longer do you have until you're done with your degree?
So it's a 2-year program.
Okay.
So obviously we're about halfway through my first year. So I have the rest of this year, and then I also have next year.
Okay. And are your classes in person, or are they online, or?
No, they're all online.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that because of COVID, or was that way before?
It's because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your type of dwarfism.
So I actually do not have dwarfism by itself.
Oh.
I have a rare genetic disorder called osteogenesis imperfecta, which is also known as OI, or brittle bone disease. And it's a collagen defect. And collagen is protein found in pretty much every part of your body. Every organ system has collagen somewhere in it. And my body produces defective collagen. So I have enough, but it's not the right kind. And as a result, I'm very short. I'm like 2'7" I always tell people. I have really bad scoliosis, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly how tall I really am. That's our best estimate. I'm a full-time power wheelchair user. I have had over 300 fractures in my life.
Wow. That's incredible. So, how does it feel to be I mean, you've got some pretty significant independence, and so that's incredible. Did you ever feel like with the grad program, did you ever feel hesitant to do it, not because you maybe didn't necessarily think you'd get in, but because of your condition?
Yeah, there's a lot, ableism in the academic community is pretty rampant. I know a lot of disabled people who are in academia have faced a lot of ableism and feeling like they're not wanted there. And I'm lucky that I haven't encountered that. I also recognize that it's still the very beginning of the program, and I am sure that ableism will come. Especially because next semester I'm planning on taking a class about special education, which I feel like can be a little rough for people with disabilities, because ableism, I think, is still pretty rampant in the special ed community.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought of ableism being rampant in the special ed community.
It is. I think it's because there's still this idea that you shouldn't be talking to the disabled people themselves, that you need to be relying on these other experts who may not have a disability necessarily, but because of all of their experience working with people with disabilities, they somehow know better.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of ridiculous.
I don't get how your brain can do those levels of mental gymnastics.
Yeah, well, it's just superiority, right? That's all it is. So when you're in graduate school now, when you were in undergrad, that's the word I was looking for. Sorry. When you were in undergrad, did you feel like you faced a lot of ableism there as well, or?
No, I go to a school that's pretty well renowned for its accessibility and the way that it really does try to welcome its students with disabilities. I think the most trouble I had actually was this kind of limbo time between the end of undergrad and the start of grad school, because the program where I live that helps get personal assistance, and we also have access to somebody who's here 24/7 if we need help outside of the time when we have a PA coming. They announced beginning middle of July that they were not going to be reopening for pay.
Oh, wow.
Which is, little bit of a problem, because I love being home. I love my parents, but I wanted to come back. I wanted to be back here with my friends and just have that experience again, since I had kind of gotten cheated out of the end of my senior year. And we're still fighting all that BS, because they still haven't told us that they're reopening in the spring. They haven't told us really much of anything. So it's been a time.
Yeah, I would say for sure. My goodness. So have you always been a wheelchair user, or? Okay.
I got my first power chair, I think, when I was between 5 and 7.
Yeah, my sister was in kindergarten when she got her first power chair.
They really don't let you have a lot of fun with it when you're that young, though.
No, they really don't.
There's very close supervision.
Oh, that is funny. So how far away from home are you? How far away from home is the school?
I'm about 3.5 hours away, so not super far.
Yeah, but far enough.
I like to say it's just right. It's just far enough.
Yeah, just far enough. Good. So, what do you think would? Trying to think of how I want to phrase this question. So you want to get you have an idea that you would like to work for a school after you finish your program. What do you think are a couple of the big things that need some serious adjusting or redoing that would be most beneficial?
I think it's just there's a big lack of education, I think, for a lot of professors and faculty members around disability. I know that on my campus, there are trainings that professors can choose to attend regarding disability, but as far as I know, they're not made mandatory, and I think that they should be. I think that disability is probably one of the least talked about aspects of diversity and inclusion, and I think that that is a really big disservice to the disability community, because I think it's so important to recognize that disability is a factor of diversity, and we do need assistance with inclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, I've said it a million times before, there's so many small things that can be done that aren't a hindrance to someone who may not need them, but can really make, the biggest difference to a wheelchair user or someone who's 4 foot tall or.
Right. I read something, let me find it actually on Twitter just this morning, that I think is really a great way of phrasing things. Disabled folks receiving accommodations means equal access to abled folks. It's not a privilege over able. I think that's something people don't understand, especially in academia.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of professors, I think, are under the impression that by giving their disabled students accommodations, they are putting them at an advantage over their non-disabled counterparts, and that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You're evening the playing field. That's all it is.
Right, absolutely. And I really have a hard time understanding why people can't see the bigger picture. So, you may not know someone who has a disability, but how can you not see how much the entire society benefits when, our students are able to be educated?
Right.
The smallest accommodations can be made and make a huge difference, not just for that person, but for the whole world. It's crazy to me.
Right.
No. Sorry. So, and I do think that there have been some things that have been done during this, whole pandemic that have shown that accommodations can be made pretty easily if there's motivation to do so. So it's not about how difficult it is, but more so, if they feel like it's worth the financial investment to do so, which again baffles me, because when some of us thrive, we all thrive. So
Right.
anyway, so what would, if you, what do you think you would say is your most, I'm going to start that sentence all over again because I was gobbledygook. What would you say has been one of your biggest challenges through getting your degree last year and going through graduate school now?
I think this is more of a general challenge. I think it's getting people to recognize that I'm as old as I say I am, as weird as that sounds. I think that there are a lot of assumptions made that because I look very young and I am so small, I'm sure you've experienced this too, people have this assumption that I'm a younger child. And it's always really funny to then open my mouth and start talking and just kind of see like their jaw drop.
Yeah, people would we would go out with my sister, and the waiter would like ask us, what does she want to drink, and she'd be like, I'll have a sweet tea, thanks. It's like there's that assumption because she looked young, and yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And I think, the wheelchair definitely doesn't help.
Right.
I think there's an added layer of kind of presumed incompetence there.
Mhm.
Which is really frustrating.
For sure. Yeah. So, what do you think is the best thing that we could do in that regard? What would be your suggestion?
Presume that anybody in a wheelchair can speak for themselves. Even if they can't, at least you've made that effort. And whoever it is that that person is with, or the person themselves, will probably be very grateful they at least took the time to make the effort to communicate with the person directly. There's this whole idea in the disability community of presuming competence. And I think that that is so huge and something that not enough people really do, because they just assume that if somebody's in a wheelchair, that means that they aren't capable of speaking for themselves, or that it automatically means that they also have a cognitive disability, which might be true, but it also might not be. So you shouldn't make that assumption before you know the situation.
Yep, that is so well said. I mean, and I think I touched on inspiration porn with Christina the other day as well. And
I hate inspiration porn.
why don't you talk a little bit about what that means for people who may not really know what that means? And
yeah, so inspiration porn was a term coined by the late and fantastic Stella Young, who also had OI. And it's this idea of using people with disabilities as kind of this feel-good porn for those without disabilities, because it makes the people without disabilities feel better about themselves. To see these people in, probably much worse situations than themselves, and say, oh, well, if you can do it, I can do it too. You're so inspiring, and it's just like, gag me with a spoon, first way. And, I think if you want to be inspired by someone with a disability, I think that that's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to be. But I want to make sure that you're inspired for the right reasons. Like, I want to make sure that you're inspired by me doing something that you are inspired by anyone for doing.
right.
Like, the number of times that I've had people talk about how nice it is that I went to college and this, that, and the other thing is so frustrating, because you wouldn't say that to really anybody else.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if that is something that you have heard a lot.
Oh, yeah. And it's usually said along the lines of, oh, you're going to school? That's so exciting. You must love it. And it's like,
oh, man. Yeah. People just can't. They
really can't grasp it, can they?
Mm-mm. No, and it's well intended, but
it is, and I'm never going to be mad at somebody who genuinely doesn't know.
Right.
The frustration comes if I've tried to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And you still refuse.
Sure, yeah. Oh goodness. Okay, so on that note, we are right about at 30 minutes, I think. And
wow.
I know. So I'd like to close out with this last question. So what is a particularly annoying or rude or funny thing that somebody has said to you in regards to your being in a wheelchair, to your stature, etc.?
Oh, my all-time favorite. We go on vacation to Wisconsin every year. And there was one year where there was this little boy who was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And he's just staring at me in abject fascination. And little kids staring at me, I take very differently than an adult, because kids don't know any better. And he's just he's just endlessly fascinated. And I was in my manual chair, so it's not like I could really move myself or anything. So he finally kind of works up the courage, and he's looking at me, and his little head's kind of tilted, and he's like, "How did she shrink?" And I wish to God that I had come up with a better explanation than like the actual explanation. But unfortunately, I wasn't thinking fast enough. And then he ran off to go play with my cousin. And all of a sudden, I hear my cousin yell from across the resort, "He does not look like an alien." And I was like, oh, apparently we've had a little tiff. Oh my.
Yeah, it is definitely different, with kids. And some, they say the way that they, I get the little mommy, look, there's a little mommy. Even when I don't have my kids, people, there's that disconnect of, okay, well, she's obviously like a mom, like she's a mom age at least. But she's as tall as I am. So
Right.
it is very entertaining very often for kids to say things. Just
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so thank you so much, and again, thank you for your patience through all of my changes. The computer didn't die. Yay!
We made it through.
We made it through. I got to give her a little more credit than I did because I didn't think she'd make it, but now I got to find this damn cord because I have another call to do.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. This was really fun. I liked this a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lauren, and keep being a badass, and I look forward to to following you on continuing to following you on Facebook. So have a great rest of your afternoon.
You too. I'll see you soon. Bye.